Welcome back for another video. Blank Gameweek 34 up next. It's a crucial week. If you're not using a chip this week, you want to get the right players in, and they need to make sense beyond the blank Gameweek ideally. Or if you are on a free hit or maybe even a wildcard, then who are the best players to have? So everyone that's had the double Gameweek 33 doesn't play next weekend. So Man City, Bournemouth, Brighton, Leeds, Chelsea and Burnley all blank. Therefore we're down to just 7 fixtures this week. Sunderland versus Forest, Fulham versus Villa, Liverpool versus Palace, West Ham versus Everton, Wolves v Spurs, Arsenal v Newcastle and Man United versus Brentford. Goalkeepers up first, and the favourite fixture for clean sheet potential is Arsenal versus Newcastle, and I would say Liverpool against Palace as well. Raya tops the keepers table with 3.8 points, and he's likely to be the most popular keeper for the free hitters. Though if you've got the scope to add him with a free transfer and you're not on a chip, then he's fantastic for the run-in. Arsenal have got more projected clean sheets than any team. With Liverpool, Mamardashvili was stretched off in Liverpool's win over Everton, which saw third choice goalkeeper Woodman come on. Don't get clever with Woodman on a free hit. I know he's really cheap. Just go Van Dijk if you want Liverpool defence. It was apparently a bad cut, so perhaps he makes the next match anyway. Sunderland have been such a force in home games this season, and that's made Roofs a really strong alternative keeper on a free hit. 3.5 projected points for him, just 0.3 behind Raya. One name to mention who's not on the table is Kinski. If Karaj is still out injured, then he's the perfect backup keeper on a chip, or even startable this week if in a position where you haven't got a keeper in your team, you're not using a chip. Then for 3.9 mil, he's fine for this week, and with a projected start, he actually moves up to 3.7 points, just behind Raya in second place. Spurs face Wolves, which is a match that is obviously an absolute must-win for Spurs. Over the last 6 game weeks, Wolves have registered a grand total of 3.79 expected goals. That ranks comfortably worst in the league over the last 6. Second worst is actually Palace, 5.4 xg, and then Burnley, 5.63 xg. So as poor as Spurs have been all season, this fixture in isolation could be worth targeting. On that note, let's have a look at defenders, because there's a few Spurs defenders in the mix here as well. Gabriel and Van Dijk joint top this week though. Very close behind is Pedro Porro, who's the one Spurs defender I think is worth taking a look at. A goal and bonus last match for a 10-pointer, his joint biggest score of the season. Passed the eye test as well with some late runs into the box, 2 shots in the box, taking corners on the left side as well, and even some free kicks. Over the last 6 game weeks, 8 shots from Pedro Porro, ranks 3rd most among all defenders. He's the perfect free hit pick really, because it is the sort of game where you might get lucky and spike a big return from him. And you don't want him longer than this game week, hence he just makes a lot of sense on a free hit. Realistic expectations though, he probably ends up on another 2-pointer, but the potential is there and he's a lock in my free hit draft. If you haven't watched the transfer plans video from Sunday evening, that's got my current free hit team in. I'll put that on screen at the end of the video to watch after. Danso was at fault for Brighton's late equaliser that last match. No reason to go for him really, despite making the table. Just get Van de Ven if you can't afford Porro. Tarkowski's averaged 10.31 defcons per 90 this season. That ranks 3rd best among defenders after Senesi and Lacroix. Everton are away against West Ham, Moyes against his old team. And if you want to target a sort of blend of defcon and clean sheet potential, then Tarkowski's great. Tarkowski's 19.8 projected points for the final 5 game weeks ranks 4th best among defenders. Gabriel, O'Reilly and Saliba are the 3 ahead of him for the run-in, and you might already have a couple of those. You could squeeze even more points out of owning Tarkowski as well by simply benching him against Man City, because whether you start instead that week will obviously have a higher ceiling than Tarkowski against City. If you need a cheap defender for both this week and the rest of the season, then instead of Van de Ven, have a look at Anderson from Fulham. 3.9 projected points this week, just misses out on making the table here. 18.4 points for the final 5, 10.22 defcons per 90. Midfielders up next, and Bruno is the favourite for captaincy this week. He's top of all players with 6.6 projected points on review. If you haven't got Bruno, then he's a priority buy for the final 5 game weeks. Second is an interesting one, and I know there's going to be a mixed reception in the comments. Salah with 6.0 points. Now, I wouldn't rush to buy Salah with a free transfer, but on a free hit, he is a fun option. I was chatting about him more in the transfer plans video, and it is an opportunity to own Salah for the final game in your team, the last game ever. I know sentiment doesn't get you any extra points in FPL, but it could be a fairy tale ending if he does score in your last ever week owning him. I mean, FPL is a game after all, and that would be a lot of fun. Szoboszlai is such a strong pick as well though, 9.9 defcons per 90, and that's 1 in 3 games he's hit defcon, plus he's got the corners and free kicks. He did actually play right back last match, but again that didn't stop him coming away with a return, assisting Van Dijk's late winner off a corner. I prefer him to Wirtz, but both are great, and they're actually dead even on review at least for this game week. Wilson and Dye, Bryce and Cunha, the other 3 names there. And Dye really unlucky to have his goal chalked off against Liverpool. It's never a bad idea to chuck a penalty taker on a free hit. They can have a pretty average game, and then if someone wins a penalty, suddenly, he's on 5 points for the goal, 2 for appearance points, maybe some bonus as well, and that's a 10-pointer just because someone else won a penalty and he scored it. West Ham are totally fighting for their lives though, so will there be that many opportunities in the game? Maybe it won't matter if someone does win a pen, but I just wouldn't count on that. It's worth me mentioning to you that Muniz has started the last 3 games for Fulham, 81, 79 and 66 minutes. He's never taken penalties, so while Jimenez is off the pitch, there's actually a very strong chance Wilson is on penalties. On top of that, he's got the set piece duty, so he's obviously a fantastic option, whether on a chip or not this week. Newcastle have conceded 12.98 expected goals over the last 6 game weeks. That ranks worst in the league. Rice therefore does look great this week with a free transfer or even on a free hit or a wildcard. Cunha's emerged as the favourite second Man United mid, no harm in doubling up if you want to. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists and 2 blanks in his last 6. And Bumo on the other hand, no returns in 6. Casemiro actually snuck into Team of the Season last game week, and he's still right on the cusp of finishing there, which is quite crazy. He's gone so under the radar all season. And this might blow your mind here. So Casemiro, 8 goals, 4 assists, 12 goal involvements. That's exactly the same as Cunha's output, 8 goals, 4 assists. And he's averaging 11.97 defcons per 90, 40% hit rate. It does, generally speaking, seem like Cunha will be the highest ceiling pick though. Some other honourable mentions lastly, Gibbs White, he's on 4.6 points off the back of that 20-pointer. A hat-trick against Wolves, and he's got Sunderland away next. Gakpo 4.3 points, Anderson from Forest 4.2, Xavi Simons 4.2 and Rodgers 4.1. Onto the forwards then, and really like Salah, you're going to get different answers depending on who you ask here when it comes to Isak, who's actually the top name this week, just barely ahead of Bowen. He's not fit enough to play 90 still, and he's not long back after months out, so that is a consideration. However, the forwards list isn't the most exciting, is it? We're certainly not spoiled for choice on the free hit. Isak, Bowen, Solanke, Thiago, Watkins, Brobby. If you're just wildcarding, then I guess it's even more limited options. Thiago, Bowen, or likewise with free transfers. But yeah, if you like the sound of it, just for a 1-week free hit punt, why not go for Isak? As a free transfer, I would avoid him, especially at that price point. Wolves are certainly a team to target though, which does make Solanke a potential free hit pick as well. Again, using a free transfer on him I would say is wasteful, but this week in isolation, he could be great facing Wolves after playing 4 90s in a row. It is fixture versus form though, isn't it? Thiago's got, 21 goals this season, and he plays Man United away, who are going to be missing Martinez and De Ligt still out. Maguire will be back after his 1-match suspension. It is a game at Old Trafford, so it might not be easy for Brentford, but form is on his side, and such a stellar season to this point. So based on all of these projected points, what's the optimal free hit, the best possible team? Screenshot is from the Team of the Week page in my app, and the team is Raya, Danso, Gabriel, Porro, Van Dijk, Bruno, Salah, Rice, Szoboszlai, Wilson and Bowen, so 4-5-1. I do think a back 3 on a blank Gameweek free hit just always strikes me as way more upside. I'd rather a striker than a defender if you can help it. You could have Thiago or Solanke or Watkins over Danso, budget permitting. The team is always limited to 100 million by the way, so you might be able to squeeze more out depending on your team value. How many players have you got from Team of the Week? It's worth mentioning it does update itself hourly based on news, injuries, or stuff like changes to a player's expected minutes, or even a change to pen share. It's all factored in and it automatically updates, so do check it out on the app menu. It's available straight after every deadline and it runs through the entire season. If you are wildcarding this week, then obviously it's going to be a fairly different team. I would line up something like Raya, O'Reilly, Gabriel, Porro, Bruno, Rice, Szoboszlai, Sarr, Wilson, Haaland, Thiago, Bowen, and some cheap bench players like Struijk, who you could start home to Burnley 35, and some other cheap defenders just to use this week. Porro to Lacral, Munoz in 36 would then get you double Palace, assuming that's when City and Palace double, if not 37. That would give you 5 doublers, which is really strong. Without a doubt, there's going to be lots of wildcards active in the Thursday experts video, so you have my word, we'll make sure we cover that plus 3 hits so that all chip strategies are covered. What are your transfer plans, guys? If you've got any chips active, leave a comment below. Thank you for watching as always, see you soon for the next one.